All right, you guys ready for Big 12 tiebreaker scenarios? There are literally about a million of these damn things going into the last week. It's nuts, okay? First of all, we can still have an 8-way tie for first. That is on the table. It could be an 8-way tie for first in the Big 12. There are, according to Dennis Dodd, through the Big 12, all right? So Dennis Dodd says that the Big 12 says in the case of an 8-way tie, there are 256 ways that this could play out. You got 256 scenarios. One of the scenarios is that your Big 12 championship game could actually be a rematch of Baylor and Texas Tech. That is still on the table. If you want to know how wild things could get, it's been wild. If you want to know how wild things could get, we could actually have Baylor, Texas Tech still on the table as a Big 12 championship game. That's insane. That is insane. And as I mentioned a second ago, other games that you've got going on here. I laid out Farmageddon, right? One rival could stop the other rival from a monumental achievement, a 10-win season. Hasn't ever happened. And stop them from getting to the Big 12 championship game, shut down their playoff hopes, shut down their Big 12 title hopes with one win. That's on the table. You've also got that same scenario, by the way, with the Territorial Cup in Arizona State this weekend. Okay? Arizona has had a wildly disappointing year. But how much better would it make everybody associated with the Wildcats program feel if they can ruin Arizona State's run to potentially a Big 12 championship and potentially the college football playoff? To shut that down when all the attention has been on them. And if you would have told anybody in Big 12 country at the beginning of the year, yeah, at the end of the year, story of the year in the conference will be a team from Arizona that is likely going to the championship game and the playoff potentially, you'd say, okay, great. Yeah, big year for Tetero McMillan and Noah Fafita. That's not been the case. It's been the other way around. Arizona State has stolen the spotlight. Arizona can ruin it. They can come bring a fire extinguisher and throw out the whole party. That's what could happen on Saturday, and the game is in Tucson. All right? Could do that literally in your home stadium. Then you've got Baylor and Kansas trying to finish things off. Baylor, chance to get maybe to the Big 12 championship game. Kansas trying to finish off bowl eligibility. A lot on the line there. Okay, here are your scenarios. Iowa State and Arizona State have the inside track. So it's not completely guaranteed, but very, 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 very close to guaranteed that if they win on Saturday, their games, Iowa State against K-State or Arizona State against Arizona, that they would be in the Big 12 championship game. So that's first and foremost. If you are very curious, according to what the Big 12 sent out, there is one scenario based on 3 other results. If Iowa State won, BYU lost, and then Kansas beat Baylor and TCU beat Cincy, Iowa State would get left out. Because in that case, you would have Arizona State, Colorado, Iowa State all tied, and you would wind up being the odd man out as you break that 3-way tiebreaker. If it's a 4-way tie and all the favorites win, Iowa State is in. If there are just 2 teams, Iowa State and somebody else, at 2 losses, Iowa State is in. If there are 3 teams there is one scenario with BYU losing where Iowa State would not be in. But for all intents and purposes, they need to win. They're going to be in. Arizona State, same deal. Beat Arizona, win your rivalry game, you will be in. Except if BYU loses, Baylor beats Kansas, and Cincy beats TCU. So it's like the flip on the back end of what Iowa State had there, where then Arizona State would lose out in the 3-way tie, and you would wind up with an Iowa State-Colorado Big 12 championship game. But I would not spend a whole lot of time thinking about that. Think of it generally in terms of Iowa State, Arizona State win, they're in. BYU, this has been laid out very well by Michael earlier, but what BYU needs is they need to win. They play Houston, that's in Provo. They need to beat Houston, and then they need to get an Iowa State loss to K-State or an Arizona State loss to Arizona. And I've already seen, judging by my Twitter mentions, not a lot of faith that Arizona would get it done. So a lot of people turning into big K-State fans, those that are BYU supporters. Now, what the Big 12 sent out would basically tell you if you're one of these teams that is at 3 losses in the Big 12 right now, K-State, Baylor, Texas Tech, West Virginia, TCU is there as well, but it appears that TCU is actually locked out of this already, that they cannot win one of these tiebreakers. Although I did seem to say or see that the Big 12 has said 9 teams still alive, which would still make TCU, I guess, someone. TCU may be still on life support, maybe not. But at least if you're K-State, Baylor, Tech, West Virginia, you would need to win your game on Saturday and get at least 3 of the 4 2-loss teams to lose. I know, for instance, like the K-State specific scenario would also have to involve Baylor losing. So there are a lot. I think the Big 12 just try to keep it simple and be like, look, there are a lot of different ways we could lay out like every single scenario, but it would take way too many pages of ink and nobody would read it. But that's the long and short of it. K-State would need to beat Iowa State and get 3 of 4 of Iowa State, Arizona State, BYU, Colorado to lose. And it would need to be the right 3 of 4. And then I think K-State also needs Baylor to lose. Same story for Baylor, same story for Texas Tech, same story for West Virginia. If you do want real specifics, I will just fire this up, not only to show you very quickly, but also to give you insight on where you could go find these if you want. College Football Home via Reddit. Put all of this up here. So these are like specific scenarios. We kind of already went over those. Colorado, BYU, but then you've got K-State. So K-State, a K-State win, a BYU loss, an Arizona State loss, and a Baylor loss, or K-State win, BYU loss, Colorado loss, Baylor loss. That's what you would need. Texas Tech. Texas Tech, if they win, BYU loses, Iowa State loses, Colorado loses, and Arizona State loses. Then Texas Tech is in. So Texas Tech needs a win and then all 4 of the favorites to lose in order to get in. Baylor. Baylor needs a Baylor win, BYU loss, an Iowa State loss, and an Arizona State loss, or a Colorado, Iowa State, and Arizona State loss. They would need 3 of the 4 to lose combined with their win. West Virginia, still alive. Country Roads, still alive somehow. Neil Brown, still breathing, baby. West Virginia would need to win, then get a Baylor loss, then get a BYU loss, then a Colorado loss, then an Arizona State loss. So they're in kind of like the same position that K-State is in there, where Baylor also has to lose in addition to 3 of the 4 favorites. Okay, so that's a little more in depth on like how deep a lot of these tiebreaker scenarios actually go and what you would need. So I hope that helps to function as a bit of a cheat sheet. You can certainly go look on Twitter where I found those. If you want a little bit more, you want to take a deeper dive yourself, more than welcome to do so. And I hope that helps out with your squad, your rooting interests for this weekend. If you want to be like Michael and get it all lined up, that part of it will be fun. There's going to be a ton of interest in these games this weekend. Unfortunately, the bigger picture here, as has been discussed at length on this live stream tonight, is that the ultimate playoff chances and just chances of succeeding in the playoff are not in a great position right now if you are the Big 12.